Okay, the first part of this is for you to talk to us about what we learned in the beginning session. And boy, it's noisy out there. Can you slide those? Guys, we're trying to have a meeting in here. One meeting, please. Hand this to Sean.
So I don't know if this is necessarily what you're after, but as I was listening, all this stuff helps. And I've been through this class. I think this is my third time. All this helps me, reminds me that the stuff. I know you can do this kind of stuff in any market, but this stuff shines when the markets cool off, and that hasn't been the case for a long time, and I think that's starting to happen. And so as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, finally, we're going to get an opportunity to use a lot of these tools that we've talked about, and that it's been 12 years since the market was really cool, and now it's cooling again. So I think for me, that was part of it.
Black. Who else wants the mic from Sean?
Let's see.
Thank you.
I learned a couple things. Better how to read and ask questions with the motivation of the clients. And also that I'm probably more receptive to the teachings now that this is the third time that I've had it. And with my different perspectives and a little bit more seasoned in the business, I'm able to understand it a lot better.
You're hearing from a different place
Yes.
than where you were 2 years ago
Yeah.
or 4 years ago. Yeah. And we talked in here about as circumstances change, values change for our clients, but also your circumstances have changed.
Yes.
You're a different level of maturity, a different level of client base, things change. Joseph?
Yeah, couple things. Number one is motivation equals direction plus velocity. I hadn't heard that before, and I think that's a very, very good point being made. And then Reno's comment that that value and worth have to be connected to a person. That's pretty huge. And the other one that was really neat was most motivated. Whose motivation are we talking about?
Yeah. So we're getting all of that right here.
Just the reiteration that no deal gets done without sufficient motivation.
Motivation, big, big, big. Couple more and then we'll move on. Can you pass that to Christian?
Yeah, I've got a
Christian, before you go, you maybe haven't all met everybody, but some of you know Melanie Phipps. Christian, you're related pretty close.
well, I'll admit that she might not.
So, Mr. Melanie.
Yeah, we've got a listing that's kind of been back and forth for a couple of years. He just has a hard property, but I picked up some things that I think we can have a different kind of conversation with him, find out more clearly what his motivations are, and maybe get creative in selling his property so he can do what he wants to do now.
Bingo. What you said. Somebody used to say there's no such thing as a problem property. It's improper ownership, or help me with the quote, anybody? It's problem ownership. Any last comment? I should have known, because you have such wisdom.
Thank you. I actually learned that there's more value in equity than in cash, and how to utilize equity to leverage it to bring more cash in for my clients. Also, I didn't know that it would be a benefit to have a pretty significant tax return on it, like the 164,000 from the exercise, I would just automatically assume everybody would want to avoid their taxes, but sometimes that could be a benefit to the client.
And there's only one way to find that out, isn't there? Ask your client. Thank you. So, for those, a couple, three that just joined us, that's some of what we've learned this morning. And now we're going to get more into, if we need the information, how do we get it from our clients? And the answer to that is client counseling, asking, questioning, etc. So we're in the middle of page 5. What is the objective of counseling? This is from our friend Mr. Reno again. The whole objective is getting all the facts to attempt to move the client's portfolio in such a manner that he will really be in a much better position than he was in originally. So we're just trying to move the client to a better position. And I don't know any clients that don't want to say, yeah, I'll sign up for that. Now, most of them think the only way to do that is to sell their property and bring them cash. But there are multiple ways to do that. So I have a listing, $1 million. I want your broker to sell it. What are you going to do with the money? We looked at this slide earlier, and it had pictures of things. I'm going to buy a building. I'm going on vacation. I'm going to buy a car. But as they go deeper, and you go deeper in, well, why would you do that? What's the reason for doing that? What are you trying to accomplish? They'll start talking about more lifestyle changes. How are you going to spend the cash? Well, I'm going to buy less management. I'm going to buy more cash flow. I'm estate building, and here's what that means to me, making a geographic move. So how are you going to spend the money from your sale? You can just keep going deeper with that question. So in your handout, middle of 5, Roman numeral 4, some definitions of what client counseling or questioning is. Open and honest communication. That's kind of hard sometimes. Open and honest communication with your client. They don't want to be that open sometimes. I don't think they really want to be dishonest, but open is something you've got to kind of earn. Open and honest communication between broker and client to mutually determine the motivations. Client counseling is helping the client understand there are many ways to accomplish their goals. Cash at $1 million for your $1 million listing does not accomplish your goal. Giving them exactly what they asked for does not accomplish their goal, probably. What do they do with the $1 million if you give it to them? Pardon? Squander it if they can. Has anybody had a client keep the $1 million? Keep the closing money as cash long term. You've had one. And what benefit? Because I know what the benefit was probably. What benefit did that serve them?
Well, I think they're still holding it. I think they're waiting for another opportunity.
So they're waiting for an opportunity. Some people might hold it just because it gives them a sense of security. I've got money under the mattress. But normally, what do they do with the cash? They spend it on something that gives them benefits. And you don't know what that is because you didn't ask. Some of you do, and some of you will. But we were never trained to do that early on in our real estate careers. So there are many ways to accomplish their goals. You know, maybe keeping their property might accomplish the goal, might not get you a fee, but if you can figure out how to definance the loan, move the loan, hire management, you might be able to help them accomplish their goal by not selling the property. Now, how smart is that, Ted? Well, you'll get more deals from them, and when it does sell, you'll be the broker, probably. Yeah, it's a long, it's as Lucas and I were talking at lunch, it's the 500-year plan, not the 30-day plan. Expanding the client's marketing possibilities. So there's lots of ways to market, lots of things we can do. The more that we understand the client, the more of those possibilities. Client-based counseling is identifying and understanding the benefits that your client and their property bring to the marketplace. So their properties bring benefits. You've got to kind of know the marketplace and what the marketplace sees as benefits. So if I've got a piece of development ground, kind of path of progress, you know what that means? Not yet. It's down the road. Path of progress, development land with debt on it. What benefit does that bring our marketplace today? What benefit is there in that piece of ground with debt on it that's not ready to develop? We might 1031 into it if we want that particular benefit, but what benefit is it bringing?
Long-term capital gain.
Maybe if it goes up in value. Maybe future potential. What I'm saying is that piece of ground does not have a lot of benefits to our marketplace. It's a negative cash flow for a period of time. Now, if you like that location, if you like long-term investing in land, if you can afford negative cash flow because it's got debt on it, that may be what you're looking for. But that's not generally, I don't want a bunch of listings like that because I can't sell a bunch of those. I can't move them through those. So how about the benefits of a free and clear rent house? Does that bring the market benefits? Cash flow, depreciation, appreciation, a place to hang debt, go get a loan. Very quickly saleable, liquid as real estate can get. You need to know what benefits the marketplace seeks and what it's looking for. So identify the benefits that your client and their property bring to the marketplace. This is called Franklin T-bar, I think it is. Is that right? Ben Franklin invented this. Just take a piece of yellow paper, not now, but with the client, draw a line, a plus on one side, negative, and just ask them, could you list the benefits of your property? We're talking about listing your commercial leased building. Let's list the benefits and let them list it. What would the benefits be of that leased commercial building? What could they be? Cash flow? How long? Oh, the lease is coming up in 6 months. Oh, that goes on this side. Okay, so there's good things about owning this property. There's bad things about owning this property. Does your client really understand what those are? Can we help them?
But it always, you have to pay attention to the client, because for somebody who wants value add, excessive vacancy could be a benefit.
Absolutely. And how would we know that?
Client counseling, by taking this course.
That's the right answer. Sitting in here for 7 hours. Client counseling helps you determine which are positive and negative. And management is absolutely positive to managers, and it's negative to passive investors. So it just depends on who they are. Client-based counseling is helping the client understand what the marketplace will allow to happen for or to them. So there's two, the market will allow things to happen for them or to them, good and bad. You need to know how the market's moving. Counseling discovers what the client feels important, which is normally not necessarily what we feel is important. This is Mr. Chatham's definition. A real estate practice on a professional level. I'll let you read that. I don't need to read it to you. So this is Mr. Chatham's book. I used to bring enough of these to sell them to you for a markup of $2. I made a lot of money on those. I sold them at $10. They cost me $8 plus shipping. But they ran out of them. So I think they're maybe still out there online somewhere. But Chatham's book, Secret of a Lucrative Real Estate Career. He said, in the early 1960s, I became fed up with 22 years of salesmanship and its tricks and techniques, which is what he was taught. It was a lot of work, long hours, frustrations, disloyal buyers, and demanding, unreasonable sellers. He didn't like his job. At the end of one frustrating day, I sat in my office, staring into the darkness through the office window, exhausted and disgusted with real estate. I made up my mind I was either going to find a different way of operating or I was going to close my door and try something else. The key was counseling. So after 22 years, he figured it out kind of on his own and wrote the book. Counseling, a practice consisting of counseling one's clients and customers instead of employing salesmanship to manipulate them. Counseling eliminated the rat race. The art of really knowing your customers and clients can be learned by anyone interested in improving your lifestyle. After discovering the principles of counseling, the whole real estate business changed dramatically. So that's Mr. Chatham. Counseling is helping the client discover and clearly identify their own motivations, which they don't always know deeply what they're trying to do and why. You need to help them with that. Their own motivations, revealing themselves unto themselves and to their partners and partnerships and spouses, etc. Your objective as a broker is building a bridge between you and the client to craft a beneficial transaction. This is something Mr. Reno said that we haven't seen yet. Richard Reno, about 1976 probably. Sadly, there are too many brokers and consultants rather than counselors. And by this, I simply mean that too many practitioners in the real estate industry talk too much rather than listen. The role of a real estate counselor is that of being a sounding board for all the client's ideas. Therefore, it's the necessary duty of a real estate counselor to get from the client every factor possible from the client's mind that would have any bearing at all on the real estate problem that the client might have. So it's not from talking, it's from listening. So for you Bible scholars, you know about Samson slew the Philistines with the jawbone of an ass. I think there were like a couple hundred of them, a bunch of them. But he used the jawbone of an ass. Many salespeople kill their deals the same way. So I was teaching this class once in Vermont. And a broker came up and gave me his little notepad thing with his picture smiling. And he said, I think that's me. And this thing says, call me, we'll schmooze. Schmooze, S-C-H-M-O-O-Z. Call me, John Rao, we'll schmooze. John was a schmoozer. He probably enjoyed talking. Then I was teaching it here, not too long after that, here in Denver. And a fellow CCIM broker who half the room would know came up and he said, Ted, that's me. I'm a walking, talking robot machine. As a broker, I'm a walking, talking robot machine. So we need not to kill our deals showing how smart we are and or just talking. I think my need to show what I can do, me, what I can do, talk, is keeping me from finding out what other people can do and what we can do together. Don't know where that came from, but when I saw it, I liked it. I think my need to show what I can do is keeping me from finding out what other people can do and we can do together. So let's change a typo. Roman numeral 5. Why ask questions? That's in there because the continuing ed people didn't like the word counselor, but I'm taking it out. Why be a counselor? Or why ask questions, but why be a counselor? So let's say you were not before you came into the class today. I was not a counselor. I was a listing, talking robot machine. I can get listings, I can sell property. I don't even care what the seller's going to do with the money. All I care about is getting the listing, getting it sold for the price that they want, and I'm doing a good service for them if I can do that. That's okay, we've heard that before. Some of you have been there before. If you're there now, or were there yesterday, give me some ideas of why it might make sense to change to being a counselor, which doesn't mean you know any less about the real estate. Give me some ideas. Why be a counselor? Lucas?
Well, if you ask the questions and find out the motivations, you have more ways to win.
I like that. I'm going to actually say it again.
If you ask questions and get to your client's motivations, you'll end up with more ways to win.
For who?
Both of you.
That's right. What we can do together. Anybody else? Why become a counselor? Ralph?
Rates are going up.
There is so much truth in what Ralph just said. Our markets are changing. We're going to talk about that a lot in a minute.
Once you understand your client's motivation, it saves a lot of time. Not have to throw problems.
So I've never shown houses, but I always wondered why a house salesperson would show people a house that they knew they wouldn't like before they went in to look at it. Like, it doesn't have enough bedrooms, it doesn't have a place for the dog, it's not in the right school district, I don't know.
Providing sound advice can lead to repeat business and a stronger referral network.
Don't let go of that. So we're going to talk.
Okay.
So you're going to provide your client a lot of sound advice.
Like good advice.
Good advice.
That's what counseling is, essentially.
Lots of advice. I'm just going to give you lots of advice. Help me. That sounds like a consultant.
So advising is consulting, but counseling is more like listening and having a dialogue.
It's not giving advice. I hear what you're saying.
Through instructing to lead.
Oh, we're going to
success.
instruct them now how to do things right, because they're not sharp enough.
Is that still?
Okay, we're still going here.
Oh, I'm trying to think of another word then.
How about just finding what their abilities and inabilities are and try to find a beneficial package to fit that without telling them how dumb they were, or how smart you are, or how much instruction they need, or how much advice they need. Because my clients will say, I got a client right now, every time, what would you do, Ted? How do you answer that? What would you do, Kyla?
You would show them. You would show them.
Show them what?
You would show them essentially what you would reinvest your money in, or what you would do with the capital given in order for them to have the maximum amount of gains.
I'm going to take you off the hot seat. So, but thank you for that, because this is a learning moment for everybody, hopefully, and Kyla, is what we think is important is not what's important to them. If they come to your office and say, Kyla, we would like to hire you for $200 an hour to instruct us on this deal, you pull out a form and you give them all the advice you want to give them. That's a consultant. You can choose to do that. Yes, in this course, we're getting information out of their head. We're not giving them. We're not instructing them. We're trying to find out what their abilities are and then find a transaction that fits those abilities. So let's say you're the best multifamily person in the world, and they've only owned industrial. But they want you to sell their industrial, or they're coming to you with money. You're going to try to talk them into management, toilets. That's because that's what you do. That's what you know, and it makes sense for you. And after about a year with those toilets, they call you back and say, could you sell that and buy us another industrial building that has one toilet and a warehouse? Because it's not who they are. It's who you are, but it's not your money you're spending. And their abilities and inabilities. So, thank you, Kyla. So why change? Better service to our client. That can look a lot like a lot of things. These are all in your notes. More efficient use of everyone's time. That's what Jeremy said. Gives broker more control of the marketing process. You understand more of what they're trying to do and not do. Determines your marketing strategy, as we looked at those 3 condos owned by Phil Anschutz, the widow, and the bank. Determines the marketing strategy. Aids in understanding how the client determines value. So not how did you price it, why is it of value to you? The triangle that we didn't fill out, everybody values things differently. Understanding how the client determines value, not how Ted determines value, not how Kyla determines value, not how Cleve determines value. How does the client determine value? It's more professional. Don't offer a solution without knowing the problem. So if you're going to offer a solution, Kyla talked about that, but you don't really know the problem, you're offering the wrong solution, probably. This is from our friend Mr. Chatham. What you don't know can injure your client. I find this a little amusing. Many brokers recoil in horror. Now, I kind of doubt that. That sounds a little overstated by Chuck. But how about many brokers think I'm full of BS when I remark, I require my clients to bring in their last 3 or 5 years of income tax reports. How many of you right now have 2 to 3 years of your client's income tax return in your folder, or in their folder. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations. But it's a minority, right? Now, why do they have that?
Well, if you're doing commercial, you're gonna need that to justify whatever asking price you have.
That's excellent. If you're residential and you ask for their tax return, you probably shouldn't get it and not going to get it. Probably. Now, you may want to know what their capabilities are, but that's more of a bank letter of proof of funds or something.
In a lot of cases, the property, that operating loss.
So you can see the income and expenses, the operating loss, or the basis on the property is in the tax return. Whenever a client says, I don't know what the basis in my property, which is 9 out of 10 times, you can help them, direct them to Schedule Cleve DL 8825 and look and find their basis for them in their tax return. And they'll go, I didn't know that. How'd they get to that? Well, they took off depreciation.
Sometimes you have to go pretty deep in tax returns, like, I mean, recently I said, well, you gotta get back to 2011 and get this information off of this, so you know that this number here correlates with when you bought the property here, so.
You probably 1031 to second generation. So each time you 1031, you're moving that basis forward. Cleve's saying, I want to go back to see when they bought it. So,
In their software.
ask again.
A lot of accounts in their software have a depreciation schedule that will print out exactly how much that they get and what it over to.
So they can ask their CPA for a copy of their depreciation schedule.
A lot of them don't.
That's true too.
But they should.
So here's what Chatham says. Why, that's private and privileged information, Chuck. He said, that's right. It's private and privileged for their tax consultant, their attorney, and me, because I'm just as important to their success, and maybe more so than their CPA or their attorney. Thanks for the input, folks. Thank you, Cleve. Cleve, have you had a physical lately? Thank you for volunteering that. So, we need to give our clients a physical. We need to give a physical to the real estate, to the client, just like, I'm sorry that doesn't show up very well, medical is what that says right there. So Cleve went in and got his blood pressure, his pulse, his respiration, his temperature, etc. So Cleve, after you did all of this stuff, what'd you do next?
I went home and had a drink. But it was all good news.
This was all good. So you didn't see the doc? Right? You didn't get to see the doctor at your physical? Oh, no, I did. Okay, so let's walk through that process. Work with me.
Then basically you go in and take blood tests.
Yep.
And the results come back, you show up, the doctor's there. And the good thing is that, because they've been now probably doing blood tests every year on me for the last 5-6 years, is looking at the trends.
Yep.
And so, even if you're maybe.
Okay, let's skip all these details. What happened next, Cleve?
Got naked.
Oh, you mean the counseling?
I don't know what happened. It was your physical.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if I keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So did he check reflexes or look anywhere or do anything? What's the matter with him? What kind of doctor does he have? Neil?
Get naked.
Neil had to get naked with his doctor. You didn't. Okay. Why would you get naked with pretty much a complete stranger, even though they're your doctor?
Just paid them a lot of money.
You're paying them for what?
I paid a lot of money last time I got bitches.
So why would you take your clothes off for the doctor professional?
So that the doctor would know everything about
Everything. Doc, here I am. Tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly. Tell me all of it. Now, do we not deserve the same level of professionalism with our clients that an attorney, a doctor, or CPA has? Get them financially, real estate-wise, naked with you, the professional. You should know everything about their deal, just like you want the doc to know everything about you. So I now pronounce you doctors of real estate. You are now professionals. You have something hanging on the wall that says, I went to the course. I deserve this information. So we do a pretty good job. I'm just sorry this doesn't show up. This says property. We do a good job of getting property information. This says client. We don't do a very good job of getting client information. And all we want to know is the client DOA, sick, or healthy at the end? Yes?
So as a new guy, I'm talking personally.
Wait a minute. This is probably important. I can just feel a lot of importance coming here. Jeremiah, or Jericho.
So I'll say personally, as a new realtor, I think I would be personally feeling uncomfortable asking these kind of questions. I feel like I would be avoiding, I guess. So how would I go about that approach, speaking from a new guy?
We're going to cover that. Thank you. Did you hear Cleve's answer about Ringsdorf? Tell him again.
You'd be surprised how easy it is for people to give you the information when you ask. The first time I asked, I was terrified that the information came like that, and there's really an appreciation for the fact that you want to know.
Yeah.
To help them.
See, I think it's a mental thing. I think like, oh, they're probably thinking, I'm asking some questions or I'm stepping on some toe or stepping on toe.
Right. Now, if you're getting a house listing, it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
But if you've got somebody with a real estate portfolio who you're trying to help, getting this information is really important to fully understand.
So good point. It depends on who you're talking to and what you're trying to do. But I'll guarantee you, for every house salesman in here who's not going to do commercial, there's more information that you could get that would help you that you don't have.
The real point that was just made is trust. If they trust the person they're dealing with, they'll give it to you in most cases, is if they really trust you. But if you haven't established the trust, you won't give it to them.
And they won't trust you if you're not a professional and act like a professional. Treat them professionally and coming back. But we will cover that more a little later. Here's Mr. Broadbent. If you have a pain in your side, you set up an appointment with your doctor at his office. The professional real estate broker is a doctor of real estate problems and warrants the same trust, Jericho, and confidence as your physician or attorney. Anything about your business and financial affairs that may have a bearing on the real estate is your business. So anything about your business and financial affairs is your business to get from the client. Anything. Counseling is a process for finding out what a client needs instead of what the client wants. Properly done, it builds client confidence in the broker and lowers sales resistance. So whenever I get a spam call, my sales resistance goes like this. And I normally hit the delete button, right? If you're counseling, sales resistance goes like this. Because you're caring, you're hearing, you're listening. They're understanding that what you're trying to do is help them accomplish a beneficial transaction. You're not just selling their property. Sell, sell, sell. I think we're through L. We're right at the end of L. Counselor versus a consultant. A counselor gets information. A consultant gives information. There's nothing wrong with being either one of those, but we tend to get them mixed up. We give away free information that we probably could get paid for, and we're trying to give information to show somebody how smart we are so we'll get the listing. It's probably not just so they do a great real estate transaction without us, because we want to get paid. There's nothing wrong with getting paid. Why be a counselor? Work in a marketplace where you don't have to compete with other brokers because you're co-oping with them. You're cooperating, not competing. You share information with the intent of creating a win-win transaction. If all you have is property information, the other brokers can get that out of the MLS, LoopNet, Crexi, wherever you put your information. They don't need to know what your client's trying to accomplish. But if you're willing to share that with somebody that understands it, underline, share it with somebody that understands, then that will help you craft a beneficial transaction. So if you say, I'm selling this $1 million property, what my client really needs is $3,000 a month to live on. If you're willing to share that information, the taker can help craft a transaction that will generate $3,000 a month. Doesn't mean they're going to buy it for $360,000 and with 10% paper, but if you tell them what your client's trying to do, it can help them craft a transaction. Okay, for you younger ones, this is not a real estate cycle. This is just a cycle. So let's talk about cycles for a minute. So this is a demand curve. This is a supply curve. As there's lots of demand, there's normally little supply because demand eats up the supply. So we are in a market right now that's somewhere in here. We used to be back here 6 months ago, before interest rates and before a war and before oil prices. We were back here. A whole lot of cash and not much supply, particularly in the residential side. 70% of the room have been in this market, where there's a whole bunch of supply and not many buyers. Mr. Strawn, are you still with me back there? He's there. Mr. Strawn, in 1982 in Grand Junction, what happened real loud?
We had a major employer shutdown and removed hundreds of jobs from our market. Our market was wilted.
It stopped.
It stopped for probably 3 or 4 years.
What was a fourplex selling for before that?
I don't remember. But,
That's not fair. It's more than 6 months ago. That's okay. But I know we were buying fourplexes after that at 20 a door, 80,000 for a fourplex. Now, you know why? That's what they were worth. That's what they were worth. There was no demand. There was no money for them because they were vacant and you couldn't rent them. What's it worth? Remember what worth is? It depends on the benefits it gives to another party. But I think they went like from 400 to 100, just almost overnight. And I started driving to Denver because I couldn't make a living. And that's why I took the first house I could find in Denver for my house in Grand Junction. I could not make a living in this market, even with my highly skilled set of formulas. I couldn't do it. So I moved to Denver where there was a little more market. So we're over here right now, I think. This is residential. July of 21, we had 4,000 houses for sale. Here's the number. We went down to 2,000. It's getting pretty tight. December, January, that's no houses. That's like zero. Because you know how many our normal year is? Somebody help me. How many? 16,000, 10,000. It's higher than 10. I think it's closer to 16. That's our normal. That would be way up here. That's what we can eat up in a normal market is 16,000 houses on the market at any one time, and most of them are on the market 4 to 6 months, and that's kind of normal, 3 to 4 months, I don't know. So we went down to nothing. Then what happened? Ralph, you're on. What happened?
Oh, that's Ralph. We had that first raise back, we went to the first or chat, all ago.
So interest rates, and people go, well, they're still cheap. I mean, I borrowed money at 10% to buy a house, and that was okay because we could make it work, but not at these prices. I don't know how many people can make that work. So there's less people buying. Right now, what's happening is this supply is increasing. Whether it's industrial, retail, housing, multifamily, this is happening and will continue to happen the rest of your real estate lives. These will go up and down. Oh, there's the actual cycle. So we went from 1 to 3 to 7. What's it going to be in December of 22? What's this number going to be in December of 22? 16,000?
Well, no, because it was sort of cyclical too. Like it was higher last summer than it was last winter. Yeah. So probably around 2,000.
You think it'll come back down to here?
Right.
22,000. People are going to disagree with you.
Well, what's funny is Natalie Christine was talking about it at 1.1, and she said it's not the market, I think she said 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 months is like normal time.
Normal, yeah. I'm guessing 12,000, and I don't know. It isn't going to be, it's going to be more than 7. You want to bet a coffee on that? Okay, coffee right here. You got to remember, though, because I bet it'll be more than 7 and closer to double digits.
Yeah, we got a rate hike coming in a month.
Yep, and that affects people that can only pay so much per month, means there's less homes that they can buy.
There's been no foreclosure.
And no foreclosures, but they're coming.
And remember, the Fed rate is not a correlation with the mortgage bond.
Let's not go there, that's the advanced class. Okay, so what's happening is number of houses supply is increasing. We're pretty close to getting somewhere in what I call equilibrium, where we're not too much out of balance. I mean, when there's 8 offers on a house, the second day it's on the market is stupid. And that's over here. When there's no offers on a house, that's stupid. And we're not, that was Grand Junction in 1983, 4, 5. In here is healthy. So we're somewhere over here. I don't know that we're going to get to here in Denver housing because it's just such a popular place to live, but it sure wouldn't surprise me. The contractors are going to keep building. That's what they do. Interest rates are going to keep going. Oil prices are not, you haven't seen the bottom of oil prices, I don't think. So who knows? But cycles are coming. No, cycles are here all the time. It's just where are you in the cycle? So a real estate cycle, you can start in any one, but it normally flows this way. Just keep cycling. Phase 1 is there's declining vacancy, means we're coming out of a tough market. Let's go to where we are now. There's declining vacancy and new construction. I don't know that we're to increasing vacancy yet, but maybe we're getting there on apartments. But guess what? There's still new construction. How long does it take to plan, buy, zoning? No.
These huge projects, there's 13 grades in there, like 25.7 account.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet it normally takes 2 years just to get through planning and zoning after you own the land, and then you got to build the thing. So these buildings that were started back here, now we got increasing vacancy, but they have to finish the buildings. This is where the market starts to come down pretty substantially. Then down here, we're getting increasing vacancy, but we're not building anymore. And then we catch up again, which is what we did back here. No new construction, but the occupancy rates going up, vacancies declining. So
There are a couple of services that just track these.
this guy right here, Mueller, let's,
There's 3 or 4 out there.
yeah. So this is the guy I listen to. So this happens to be retail, and he does this on retail, office, commercial, multifamily. He does it on all the various commercial sectors. So this is retail. What was going on in 07? No crash yet. We were still doing good. I'm trying to see where's Denver at. Here's Denver.
They had somebody had asked how long are these cycles?
It's till it's done. It's till the next cycle. 7 years has been the average, but the last one's been 10 or 11. So here's Denver retail in 07. It's a pretty good place to be because this also is interpreted as increasing prices, although that's not really what he's showing, but that's when prices increase. So there's Denver. Then in 09, now we know what happened in 08 and 09, crunch. So nothing over here. Everything's going down. Denver, where's Denver? Denver's over here. It's about as tough as it's going to be. That's in just 2 years. 2010, it starts to cycle. 2012, nothing on that side. Things are getting pretty good. We're starting to build again. Where is Denver? Here's Denver. So we're coming up out of it. And this guy just runs the numbers. He doesn't have an opinion It's just here's where you are in your cycle. 2016, pretty normal. Things are hyper hot, 2016 and 18. Everything's over here. This is the good, this is top of the market. Everything's good in all markets. This is every metropolitan area for retail only. 2020, let's see, have we got COVID yet? Yeah? So some things are starting to happen. But here's Denver. Market's slowing down a little bit. Cycle's starting to come around. First quarter of 21. And I just looked at 22, and this is starting to move over here a little bit. It really isn't down on retail as much as I thought it would look. I would have expected it more down here because retail's a little tough with COVID.
So some of that with them monkeying around with the economy during COVID pushed people, it looks like, from 3 and 4 in recovery all the way to hyper supply, just because you couldn't run a retail business unless you had special dispensation.
But it doesn't really mean hyper supply.
Where they're starting to get to big vacancies and stuff. Some of that we can be pushed through moderns.
But these markets are still relatively healthy over here. This is kind of the top of the market. Things are rented, getting good rents, but cycles occur. And who was it said, in a cyclical market, you need to know what's going on in here today. The stuff we're talking about. And that's what I was wanting to say earlier. The 3 people that held up their hands earlier were all gray hairs or no hairs. And I get the question, why are the exchangers more mature, older? Why aren't there a bunch of young guys and gals in there? And we're getting more. But I think the reason that there's gray hairs in exchangers is they know how to survive this. And it allows them to stay in this industry for 20, 30, 40 years. If they didn't know how to survive this, they wouldn't be in the room. So that plus continuing ed credit, where it went from we're going to get the education, we don't care about CE, to the only reason I'm going to get the education is for the CE. That's kind of the 2 shifts that I think make exchangers more mature as a general group. Adequate motivation and ability can turn a want into a need if demonstrated by action. Adequate motivation and ability can turn a want into a need. Do we want to work with clients' wants or clients' needs? Needs. Because a want will just run you around ragged if they can't perform. It's the last part of this, if demonstrated by action, can turn a want into a need. So let's take a real quick example. The head of RE/MAX is Dave Liniger. Anybody been in Dave's house? I have not. How big is Dave's house?
Pretty big. The biggest house I've ever been in my life. It's got cars inside of it. It's got a shooting range inside of it.
Tell us again.
It's the biggest house I've ever been in my life, and I've been in some big houses.
What all's inside here? Hold this.
It's got cars, Humvees, Jeeps, a shooting range, a gun room.
It's big. Nice view? Now, how many of us think that Dave really needed that house?
Some of us are clumsy.
Needs space.
Need space. Does anybody need 30,000 feet, Kathy?
No.
20,000, whatever Dave's got. I'm not begrudging him. I'm not jealous, a little bit. He's got his own golf course right down the street. How big a house does Dave need to live in?
Barely 30,000 feet.
Why do you say that?
Well, whatever's going on with this guy, he's got the money and the ability.
Why don't you read that slide?
Adequate motivation.
Did he have adequate motivation and ability?
I'm not sure if it was, the motivation was to make money.
Not when you build a house like that.
The motivation was to piss it away if he earned it. But, you know.
Dave Liniger,
He had a need to do these things, and he had the ability.
he had a want. I want the biggest house on the mountain. And he turned it into a need, and we know that because he has it. He demonstrated it by action. So can your clients demonstrate by action their wants and turn them into needs? Because we never just start off with a need. We start off with a want, and we turn it into a need with the ability to perform, with the checkbook, with the partnership, with the whatever. Adequate motivation can turn a want into a need if demonstrated by action. One reason to be in this course is to survive the cycles. When there's plenty of money, you can make a living selling real estate. When we have a cycle, you need something more than that, because the money just won't do it. This is from NAR. The number of realtors in 1926 were 24,000. In 1935, they went to 10,000. 24 to 10. Would you say that was a cycle in there? There was something going on? In 1914, the end of World War, or 1940, we were in the war at 14,000. As soon as the war was over, we went up to 43,000. Cyclical. 1980, we had 761,000. In 1982, we lost 144,000 realtors in 2 years. Something happened between 80 and 82. Are you prepared for the market to stop or slow down? Or do you have to have 3 offers on your listing in order to make a living? If you have to have that, get ready for your next career, because it ain't going to stay like that. From 1989 to 97, we lost 106,000 realtors. From 2007, good year, to 2013, we lost 358,000 realtors, which was 26% of our fellow brokers. We're now at 1,534,000, 1.5 million brokers. My prediction, 2024, 25, I'll take coffee bets, 1.5 million to 1.2 million. I think we'll lose 200,000 or 300,000 realtors in the next 3 or 4 years. Don't know. I don't hope that. But I believe in cycles.
That's not all COVID either.
No. So you can't say cycles don't happen. Cycles have always happened and they'll continue, but our crystal balls are murky as to when. 1.5 million brokers out there today. The median gross income is 43,000. Yeah, that's not so good. The residential sides, about 13, either buy or sell. The average broker, 13. The average commercial broker, 4 sides. That's not so good, unless they're big deals. I think we'll lose some brokers in the next few years. So I'm glad you're here because you'll figure out some ways to survive when others are not surviving. Now, it takes more than this course. You're getting one leg of the footstool, of the three-legged stool. We need to get another formulas course and a tax course in here. So hopefully we can do that in the next year or so. Well, we're doing that. I need a volunteer. I need a volunteer. You ready? This is a counseling session. That's yours.
Sweet.
Manny and I are having a counseling session. I'm the counselor. Manny's the client. Manny's trying to do something. I'm not sure what. How would I find out what Manny's wanting to do? Manny, I want to know everything in your mind, and I want it into my mind. Okay?
Cheers.
Let's put everything in your mind in my mind. I want everything in your mind in my mind. I want everything in your mind in my mind. Manny. I guess I didn't empty my mind enough when you came into my office, did I?
No, you're not.
No, I didn't. I apologize for that. Next time, I will have everything out of my mind when you come into my office.
Perfect.
Don't tell anybody. So if you see this funnel up here, when a client prospect, Chuck Chatham used to call them CAs, client applicants. When a prospect comes into your office, they don't become a client. They're a client applicant. They're a prospect. They're bringing in some stuff. They're bringing in, you're coming from a certain place, they're coming from a certain place, but they're not a client until you agree to work with them. Now that's just the opposite of kind of what we're taught. They're not a client until they agree to sign our listing. That's the way we're kind of taught. Get them to sign the listing so that you have listings, so you've got something to put in MLS to hopefully sell. So when they come into our office, try to turn that around a little bit. They are applying to be your client. So in the event you decide that they bring abilities, motivation, attitude, time, flexibility, and other things to you that you think you can help them accomplish their goals and help them create a beneficial transaction, then they become a client and you become their broker. So clients walk into your office as a client applicant. If you agree to take them on, they become a client, but it's as much up to you as it is to them. So in the past, I think oh, please, can we have your listing? It's, do you deserve me to work with you? Do I want to work with you? And can I perform? So we're at Roman numeral 6B, boy, page 7. The key to counseling is questioning. So Jericho said earlier he would have a little trouble maybe asking for some of these things and maybe even questioning, asking questions to find out the history, how they got here, where they're going. Just might not be comfortable, but it will get comfortable. It might take a time or two, but it'll get comfortable. So what's more important than questioning? I couldn't hear you. Oh, listening. is more important than questioning. So if you ever asked somebody a question, they answered, and you didn't have a clue what they said, that's the lack of listening. So we're going to add another word in there. Hearing. We heard everything that was going on in the room out there, but we didn't listen to it. Hearing is noise. Hearing is words. Active listening is more important than hearing. So you can ask the question, Roman numeral, or letter C, counseling involves the past, present, and the future. So if you're thinking of a listing, commercial or residential, how they got here is important. Where they are now is important. And where they want to go is important. None are more important probably than the others, but you need to understand how they got here, listen to their story, tell me about when you found this property and what you liked about it. How did you improve? Help them build the story of how I got here. Where are you now? What's the motivation now? And where are you going? What do you see? What's the dream? Or what's the problem? Where are you going? So how I got here, current status, and where am I going? And most people will say, I just want the $1 million. I would just want to list this, Ray, and have you sell it for $1 million. Vicki, would you just get me $1 million for this property? And you go, well, I think it's kind of worth it. I'll do my best. But they're not saying I need $1 million cash. They're saying I need different benefits, and it's our job to find out what those different benefits are. E, counseling takes time. If someone comes into your office, they have a property you would like to sell, you think you can sell it, you think it's priced right, Chatham would have said, don't take the listing. In this marketplace, I would say take the listing and then keep counseling the next time and the next time. So is it a listing session that you're having or a listening session? Make sure it's a listening session first, but if a listing comes out of it, if you feel like this is going to make sense, I'm not going to say send them home and don't have them sign the listing if they want to and are willing. But there's nothing wrong with not taking the listing on the first session. It's not a listing session. It's a listening session. Send them home with the listing agreement. Say, read this. If you've got questions, underline them. I need a copy of your survey. I need a copy of the title work. I need this and that. Bring it back next week on Wednesday, and we'll continue on talking about whether I can help you accomplish your goals. So it may take 2 or 3 listening sessions. So F, listing versus listening. Let's go to page 8. J, learn to ask intelligent questions positioned in a logical sequential order. The answer to the previous question may lead you to the next. And I would say on the last part of that, the answer to the previous question will always lead you to the next question or the next silence, to give them a little time to go deeper. So always let them complete their train of thought. We ask a question, we get an answer, we listen, and then almost the most important part is we're quiet. We just let it sit for a while. Then we ask another question. Question, answer, listen. Question, let them answer, listen, give them 5 or 10 seconds. That's hard to do for some of us. Then ask the next question. Get an answer, listen. Normally, this question comes from this answer. So if the question is, tell me about the deferred maintenance on your industrial property. That's the question, because we want to know. They answer, the property probably could use a little roof work. Do I have to think very hard about the next question? What would it be?
Define little.
Yeah, there's 20 questions. There's 20 questions. But this answer will normally take me right here, as opposed to having a list of questions, which we'll talk about. If you go through a list of questions, you're not developing rapport and showing anybody that you're very professional. So it might need a little roof work. Well, do you have a copy of the last time the roof was installed? Do you have a copy of that? Is there any warranty on that? How long ago was the roof replaced? Describe for me the deferred maintenance. How is the deferred maintenance impacting your warehouse, your manufacturing? Do you have buckets set all over the place? There's lots of places to go with that. And then this answer is probably going to take you to the next question. Well, we had the roof replaced just 2 or 3 years ago, but it's still leaking. Can you get a copy of, did you have a warranty? Can you get me a copy of it? So it's just the last thing will keep taking you down the path until you decide, I've got enough information on the roof. What's the next question? This is real. What's the next question? You just talked about the roof. Is there any other deferred maintenance? Tell me about the parking lot. Is there any structural issues? It just keeps going until you're done talking about that phase of the real estate. K, in order to get yourself and the client comfortable, this is part of the issue. Start with stuff that's really easy to talk about, and then get deeper as time goes along and rapport builds up. So what do we start talking about? What's the first thing? Client walks in. Client applicant walks in. What's the first thing to talk about?
Their family.
Bingo. It's nothing to do about the real estate, nothing to do about their divorce, nothing to do about the problem. Just tell me, hey, what's going on? I heard you love to fish. How long can that conversation take? It's a long time. So you just start building a little rapport, and then after you're through that, what's the next thing to kind of visit on that's easy for them to talk about? Vicki says, how can I help you? That's good. Why are you in here?
Spouse, kids, or grandkids.
Okay, that's still all this getting mushy, huggy, kumbaya moment.
But the property is.
Property's easy. Property's easy for anybody to talk about. Tell me what you really love about your home. Tell me, I know your property's leased. Tell me about your tenant. Tell me what's the thing you like the most about your real estate. That's easy. So property, then ownership. Who's entitled to the property? Tell me about the partnership. Tell me about the LLC. Tell me about the corporation. So the people, property, people, the situation or the problem, if there is a problem, but why are you in here? and then solutions that they may have, and their only solution may be, Vicki, you're going to sell my property for $1 million, and that's going to solve all my problems. Oh, you have problems? Could we talk about those? Because there's lots of ways to solve your problems. Stuart?
I think the key one there is number 3 of a situation or problem, that many times they may not even know what the problem is, or the problem is a completely separate problem that needs to come out through the counseling or question answer session. Because then that gets into formulas of, okay, how do we solve, it may be on this property, it could be on another completely property, who knows?
So the problem could be way over there, and we're selling this property to solve that problem.
But maybe you have a formula or solution to solve both problems or
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
Like,
Thank you.
Ted, the last one that you have listed, where would you like to go next?
Where would you like to go next?
Or where you have a different?
Can I,
5-year plan.
what's your 500-year plan? Is that what you said? Lucas has a vision. I'm going to add that to my outline. Thank you, Ray. After you've established rapport and preliminary info, go to a more probing line of questions. Get into the motivation. M, once the motivation is clearly defined, Cleve, your favorite slide. The broker is an MSD, motivation seeking device. Finally. But you got to stay another 2 hours to get credit. Client motivation. Broker is a motivation-seeking device. I mentioned earlier the $12 million house. No motivation. Has anybody else got other thoughts or stories where there was really high motivation and the client, oh, I got one, but go ahead. Really high motivation and really helped you get a deal done, or no motivation and there's just no way? Let me get a microphone, Jeremy. I'm coming your way. Well, I'm coming back. I had a really good client. Anna knows my client that had a building for sale, and COVID came. And they go, let's get out of title to this property now. And they lowered the price until we had a buyer. It was free and clear. They owned it a while. It was all profit, and they were happy. But motivation can help you help them.
I actually have a client that his motivation would change from week to week. And he couldn't figure out exactly what he wanted. Well, come to find out, his wife grew up with some real estate investors. And anytime he would go see his wife's friends, he'd come back and have to have a prestige building.
Have to have a what?
A building with some prestige.
Okay.
So everything he told me was total crap until I figured out it mattered how her friends were going to view the property. And once I figured that out, we were under contract in a month.
So what did you sell them? Or
I sold them an investment property down in Texas that's 120 units. The friend's biggest multifamily property they have is 180.
we're bigger.
Bigger property, that's all that matters.
So Mr. Brondino, who's still living but has been out here and taught to some of you, said all properties need one of multiple things. One of them is pride of ownership. That's what I want to own, is something that looks like this. Okay, we're at Roman numeral 7. Let's do N first. Very knowledgeable or strongly opinionated brokers. Don't read anymore. Hold up your hand if you're very knowledgeable and strongly opinionated broker. they may struggle to become a good counselor because, fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. Louder? Yeah, I can't hear you up here. They don't listen. Yeah, it's hard to be a counselor and not listen. And if you're smarter than everybody else, why are you going to empty your head and let them fill you up? Because you know, let's just give them all the info and get it done my way. My wife once in a while will say, Ted, if everybody just thought like you, it'd be a lot simpler. I don't know what she meant by that. Any other thoughts on that? So if you're very knowledgeable, which we have very knowledgeable people in here, I like strongly opinionated people as long as they don't force their opinion on me. I like their passion. But to be a good counselor, they need to be humble, they need to dumb down, they need to listen. Becoming a good counselor, why won't we ask for the information? This answers your question. So fill in the blank. What are your thoughts? Why won't we ask the client for the information? Fill them in. What is it? Talk to me.
Think you know it already? You know the answers already?
Okay, you think you already know the answer, so you don't ask the question.
Right. Lack of training?
Lack of training, we don't know how. We're going to learn that.
It's very instant.
Pardon?
It's very instant.
I see your lips moving, David, but I can't tell what they're saying.
It's very intimate.
Very intimate. It's too intimate for us to ask. Thank you.
We're afraid of complaint.
David, what's your favorite pastime, hobby? Surfing. Can you believe it? We've got all kinds of people. Why would you come to Colorado to be a surf dude? I don't know. Why won't you ask for the information?
You're afraid of a word. You're
Ooh,
afraid of success.
that's a good one. I don't know if I'm afraid of success, but there's a lot of work. So here's some answers. We think we don't need it. We think we don't deserve it. It's uncomfortable, or we don't know how. So underneath that is an asterisk, and Cleve mentioned this earlier. He just couldn't believe when he asked, they just go, yeah, here's this, 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 and this. Part of that is he may have said, I don't know, did we first ask permission to question the client? So if you're doing this new kind of thing called counseling that involves questioning, and the client walks in and they've never been exposed to somebody that's asking them serious, deep questions about motivation and their property, they might kind of pull back. If you start off with, I do things a little different, here's what I need to know, everything I ask you is going to help me accomplish your goal. If there's anything that you don't want to answer, you just say, I'd like to keep that private. Is it okay, Miss Client, if I ask you lots of questions that will help me help you? How can I help you? The more information I know, the better. Ask permission. Do it the way you want to do it in your words. But if you ask permission, they're probably going to say okay or yes. You may ask me anything you want. As long as it helps you help me, it's kind of like the doc. Be a professional. Why won't the client answer questions? None of our business, never been asked before, don't know or prefer to live the lie. I'd just rather not go there. Could you just sell the property for me for $1 million and I'd rather not talk about it? So what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that piece of information? Would you just sell it? I'd rather not talk about the issues.
Just one of the things that's relatable is how many times I've run into people, part of the reason that they,
Hold up.
part of the reason they don't want to give you the information is because the information they're giving you on the property is not what's on their tax returns and not what the truth really reports.
Yeah.
And that's one way to get straight through to the property schedule and find out what they're actually reporting on their taxes and what, they told you was positive cash flow ended up being a negative cash flow.
Thank you. Any other thoughts on questioning clients?
The other thing is that in today's day and age, with all the confidential information getting out beyond you, is why they won't give it to you.
Yep. Just hold that mic for a minute. Anybody else? Right behind you. Vicki? Hi, Vicki. Vicki, don't say anything. Where are you from?
I'm from China.
That wasn't what I was looking for. Okay, you're from China originally. Where did you live a few months ago?
Indiana.
Indiana. Where's Ted from?
Indiana.
Yes, bingo. We're like compadres. Okay, so moved from China to Indiana, now living in Denver yet?
In Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs. Okay, so relocated. Thank you. Wanted people to get to know you a little bit. What's your thoughts?
About this question?
Yeah.
I think this investor is not really motivated to sell. They just want to shopping around. What the best deal he or she can get for now, but not really motivated at this moment.
How would you deal with that client?
Well, I would say, what's the purpose of really coming in today? And then what they really want to do.
So anybody else have a shopper, a perennial shopper? How do you deal with that?
Follow up.
What's that?
Follow up.
Follow up?
I think there's another possibility I can think about is they have been shopping around. They have had an interview with several other brokers, and then they already answered all kinds of questions. Maybe the offer, like the marketing price they got, it's not really he or she is satisfied. That's why he or she maybe not think this is necessary. That's another wasting time. But they still want to shopping around and see the chance.
And I would suggest that most of the other brokers that they've talked to are trying to create a sale and are not counseling with that client and getting to know why is the client doing this, why are they shopping everything, how serious are they. And if you do that, they will quit shopping and start buying with you because they see that you're different. Give that back to Ray.
There's a reason why they're doing that is they don't trust or they don't like that broker that they've been working. So
Or they just need a friend.
Yeah.
They got nowhere else to find a friend.
Yeah, I've got a client that did end up buying, but she takes up a lot of the time. She bought into a deal with me, and I think I might be the only adult other than her aging parent who she gets to talk with regularly. And I have to because we got reports that I got to talk to her about. But I think what he was kind of saying over there about they either don't know, like, or trust you with that information.
Thank you.
So give me a gross point.
Okay, we're at, this is a Richard Reno quote about silence. The counselor just stops talking and keeps quiet for a few seconds. That was 5 seconds. That's hard to do. And out come all the words the counselor has been waiting for. Five seconds. That's hard to do. In most cases, the facts that the counselor has been waiting for will now come out. So if you ask a question and keep your mouth shut for 5 or 10 seconds, Reno is saying, out come all the words, all the information that you've been waiting for. Because most of us just hate to hear silence, so we fill it, particularly if we're talking about ourselves and our property. This is my favorite slide. Asher, I need you to pay full attention to this instead of your iPhone, because this is important, and it involves the guy you work with. If you take the word listen and scramble up the letters, what else could you spell with those letters? If you know the answer, don't say. Pardon? Well, not if you've been in the course. But if you're just doing it first time, sure. Silent. Same letters. Listen. Isn't that cool? Do you know what Blake Allen said when I did this? He said, enlist. I go, what? He says, he said enlist. I said, no, it doesn't. E-N-L-I-S. Yeah, it does. Blake. If you're in the room with Blake, there's somebody smarter in the room than you. Just know that. So listen is silent or enlist. But I just thought that was cool when somebody told me that. Not Blake's part, but types of questions. C at the bottom. Yes, no questions should be avoided. Try not to start with do, does, will, would, can, are, because those are all going to be answered with a yes or no. Now, why don't we want a yes or no answer? What?
We want to encourage it.
We want more information, not yes or no.
These questions give more information.
Some people will take a yes-no answer and answer it for 10 minutes. Tell me about your property. Or no, that's not yes, no. Do you have deferred maintenance? Yes, and let me tell you, here's what da. Some people just want to communicate. They're talkers. That's a good thing when you're a listener. And some people will say, do you have deferred maintenance? Yes. And they won't say anything else. And it'll be silent. And you're listening and silent and you're going, come on, I need more. And there's interesting thing or other questions. Can you expand on that? Can you tell me more about that? What type of deferred maintenance? So here's the next one. Inquire, why, how, what. Allow much deeper probing, but can be confrontational. And then at the bottom, VI, small VI, tell me, explain, or I like describe. Describe the deferred maintenance. Tell me about the deferred maintenance. So when you're questioning, you try to avoid yes, no's, but they come out. But then you just have to take it deeper. So if you're doing why and how much, you'll get more explanation. I really like the explain and clarify. Can you elaborate? I like this little saying. If you understand everything I said, you would be me. And our goal is not to be them, but our goal is to understand nearly everything that they say. Somebody have the internet live? Can you Google? Somebody Google? Google the origin of the word kangaroo. Let's have two people do it. Ray says, that was so good, I want a picture of that. If you understood everything I said, you would be me. I'm not sure why I like that so much, but there's some wisdom in there somewhere. So, origin of the word kangaroo, don't tell us, just find it. Anybody got it? Okay, so there was a Dutch explorer in 1600 or so that discovered Australia. And he went on land, and the Aborigines were there, and the Dutch captain says, "What's that big jumping mouse rabbit kind of thing with a pouch and a baby in it? What is that?" And they said, "Kangaroo." And he goes, "Nice name, kangaroo." What does the word kangaroo mean?
It says we actually don't know it in any native language. They probably misheard the thing, and it said it's gangaroo, large black kangaroo. Kangaroo meant kangaroo.
Did you get it? What's it mean? I don't understand you. Kangaroo? I don't understand you. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. That's what kangaroo means. It's not a big jumpy around mouse thing. It means I don't understand. Do you have a problem when you're talking to somebody and say, "Joe, I just heard you, but I don't understand what you said"? Kangaroo. Could you tell me again in a different way so I can understand it? Because I really want to understand. It's hard to say, "I am not that sharp. I didn't get it." It means that we're kind of not the sharpest tack in the box. Have you kangarooed your client? Have you told them, "I just don't understand what you're talking about"? It means I don't understand. It's okay to do that. I'm real good at doing that because I don't have any ego left that says that I have to understand everything they say. I know you've all been in conversations where somebody says a word. In fact, somebody say a word right now that I don't have a clue what it means. Come on, that won't be hard. Pick anything with technology. Come on. Anybody young knows a word that I don't have a clue what it means. Give me a word. Any word I don't know. Okay, I got some words over here. What was it? Well, that's a big fluffy thing, isn't it? Who has a word?
Disintermediation.
Disintermediation. Could you expand on that a little bit? Because I don't know if I've ever heard that. I don't know what that means. I don't know either. It's not hard to say, kangaroo, I don't know. I don't understand. Jericho, did you come up with a word I don't understand? Okay. About here is when we play a game. Who's very high tech? Who's very high tech? Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, you might be a tough one to do this with. We're going to play a game. What doesn't Asher know? So you old guys, ask Asher a question that he doesn't have a clue.
What's gestation on a mare?
What's the gestation on a mare?
I don't know.
Excellent question. Now, could you kangaroo her?
Yeah, I don't understand that. Quite a good question.
Can you expand? Can you tell
Can you
me?
stand on that?
So,
So 11 months and 5 days is the typical gestation.
what's the word gestation mean? I don't understand that. Pregnancy. A mare is 11 and a half months pregnant before they give birth. Now, it's your turn.
Oh, boy.
Talk about music.
You said
Yeah, do you know what RAM stands for?
RAM. Yes, I do know what RAM stands for because I was raised on a farm. And we had ewes and rams. And when ewes and rams would get together, there would be some gestation going on. So yeah, don't try to pull that on me. What's RAM stand for? I just don't quite understand.
It's for random access memory.
Random access memory. Did you learn something today? We both learned something today. There's nothing wrong with kangarooing your client and to admit that you don't know everything about everything. We're coming back here with a microphone. Next time we take this course, I want you to sit in front.
This is just silly, but my son's initials are Ram and Ram. Yes, I did
8,000?
it on purpose.
What was that again? I wasn't paying attention.
I know, Ram and Ram are my son's initials.
That's wonderful. Do you have anything you want to say while the mic's here?
I've just accepted the fact that most of the time I talk, nobody understands what I'm saying, so I just go on with it. To be honest.
It's an East Coast thing.
Since I know they don't understand, I just keep talking.
We have a different legal.
Okay, kangaroo. We're the end of part 2. Let's see what time it is. Perfect. Almost. Take a break, make a call, get a coffee, and we'll do session 3.